Family finally found Book 1 After the Dust Settles, Chapter 5, Midnight Considerations and Breakfast Conversations. Contrary, he had indeed wrapped himself in a blanket at some point after they had all gone to bed. His heavy boots sat next to the mattress, as Miss Maddie had insisted he remove them, much to the boy's frustration. If he needed to go to the bathroom during the night, she had said, she didn't want to be woken by his heavy footfalls down the stairs and hallway. He had countered with the suggestion of simply jumping out the window to do his business in the woods, but that had not been acceptable to their hosts. That last word seemed to glare at him. Hosts, implying that he and Knuckles were their guests. Guests usually leave at some point. Miss Maddie had said he and the echidna could stay with them for an indeterminate period of time, but had made an investment in these beds and other accessories. A fairly sizable investment if the look on Mr. Tom's face when they left the store was any indication. Why would they take so much interest in making their home comfortable, supplying furnishings and the like, to two boys who may or may not even decide to stay? He breathed deep, and a scent wafted seemingly all around him. Strawberry from the shampoo Miss Maddie had bought for them. She had helped him thoroughly wash his fur, and it had felt so nice to be clean. Her hands were soft and gentle as she massaged the shampoo in, and she took great care to rinse him thoroughly. As she dried him, he had gone frizzy, and she had laughed. But it didn't sound like the mean type of laugh he was so familiar with. Embarrassment had turned his muzzle pink, but she smiled at him so kindly. A thought occurred to him, and he furrowed his brow. Maybe they really wanted him to stay. Yeah, and those other families had wanted you to stay in the beginning too. He closed his eyes tight. How he hated when that voice spoke up. The one he dubbed cynic, as it always gave voice to what could go wrong. Finding fault in every situation he dared to feel the slightest bit of hope toward. It was especially loudest in these types of situations. And at night. This was probably what woke him. His anxiety was surging. Don't be dumb. This is just the honeymoon phase. You know that. You've been through enough of them. Shut up. It's all sunshine and rainbows in the beginning. Everyone bending over backward to make sure you're comfortable and happy. Shut up. Then the uncertainty appears. The side eyes. The exchanged glances. The hushed conversations behind your back. Stop. Please just stop. You always get your hopes up and you always get hurt. This isn't going to end any differently. No. Sonic was his friend. He wouldn't let. Sonic's not gonna want a little tag-along kid shadowing him all the time. And besides, he had acted weird today too. Maybe he's not so sure about you sticking around anymore. Tails had no counter to this argument, because he had thought the same thing earlier that day. Don't get comfortable. You know this isn't going to last. These people's kindness will eventually fade. Then you'll be back in your little house outside the village, which has probably been pretty trashed by now, once those boys noticed you missing for a few days. The thought of anyone in his home, possibly stealing or destroying his computers and inventions, made him wince as though struck. That had been his life. His world before coming here. To think that in all likelihood his home had been destroyed in his absence made his chest tight. He heaved a deep sigh. The part of him that gave voice to his most cynical thoughts was harsh, but usually had a point. All those past failed attempts to join a family had started just like this. Happy and welcoming before turning cold and uncomfortable. There truly was no reason to think this time would be any different. Sure, Sonic may have considered him a friend now, but there was a difference between friends and friends who lived together. Tails was now in Sonic's home with the two people the hedgehog cared about most in the world. The two people he loved most in the world. And they loved him. What right did Tails, or Knuckles for that matter, have to intrude on that arrangement? Maybe he should go. Just grab his backpack, run out into the woods, and toss a ring. It would save everyone, himself included, a lot of hassle and heartache in the future. His muscles tensed, and he could imagine himself doing just that. Throwing the covers off, grabbing his backpack, and flying as fast as his tails could carry him out into the dark trees. One ring toss later, and he'd be back to his no doubt trashed home on his planet. Back to his lonely life. Back to being the focus of a few jerk boys' hatred and disgust. Back to wishing he had a family. And a home where he was loved and welcomed. Tails clamped his eyes shut and rolled over, pulling the blanket over his head. He curled into a tight ball, tasting tears in the back of his throat. Swallowing, he tried to focus on something, anything that would distract him from these feelings. to shut up that cynical voice, still warning him to not get too comfortable. Because he wanted to hope, to believe. He was warm and clean and well-fed. And yes, he felt welcome. But he had to admit the cynical voice was right. This was all feeling so familiar. Knuckles frowned, his brow furrowing deep. He had awoken when the fox had, his finely honed senses telling him something had changed. The kit didn't necessarily snore, not like the hedgehog, who seemed incapable of being quiet even in slumber, but the boy's even breathing had sped up slightly before he woke. The kit had stayed in bed, sighing a few times before rolling over. Now he huddled beneath his blanket, much like the echidna did. His breathing was uneven, distressed. Knuckles didn't think he was crying, but it sounded as though he were fighting the urge. It would seem Knuckles wasn't the only one feeling uncomfortable on this planet. In this house. His discomfort, however, was through no fault of the humans. They treated him kindly, fed him well, and had provided a comfortable place to bed for the night. He sensed no ulterior motives to their interactions. Of course, he had sensed no ulterior motives to Robotnik's behavior, either. And look where that had led. Still, the Wachowski couple seemed more honorable than Robotnik. They treated everyone with respect and kindness as opposed to the abuse and trickery Robotnik seemed to enjoy. They had taken him and the fox in and seemed concerned for their comfort and well-being. By all accounts, they were people he could trust. And yet, he felt uneasy. Guilt ate at him. Shame weighed on his mind. Because of Robotnik. Because of his actions. And something about the hedgehog bothered him. Not the hedgehog himself, although he sometimes made too much noise and got a little too close for Knuckles' liking. But as a person, he was honorable and true. Despite the loss he had suffered as a child, which could have turned him bitter and angry, he remained positive and hopeful. The loss. Something about that seemed to spur a flash of realization in Knuckles. Sonic had lost the one who had cared for him. Longclaw, the Owl Warrior. The rival of the Echidna clan. His clan, who had killed her in their quest for the Master Emerald. Would they have killed Sonic had they caught him? Knuckles didn't think so. Sonic had been just a small child, after all, but he had to admit to himself that some warriors in his tribe were very focused on retrieving the Master Emerald. And they thought the hedgehog was apprenticed to Longclaw, learning of the Owl Warrior secrets. It wasn't hard to imagine that some would not have spared the boy simply due to his young age. His clan had contained many fine, honorable warriors. But some had made his father nervous. Their focus bordered on obsession, making them unpredictable and dangerous. If they had even the slightest hint that Sonic knew the Master Emerald's location, they would have stopped at nothing to discover that information, even from the mind of a small child. Knuckles pushed these thoughts out of his mind. He decided it had been good of Longclaw to send the boy away, for Sonic's safety. But the more time Knuckles spent with the hedgehog, the more he wondered if apprentice was the correct word. He did not seem to know about the rivalry between the two clans, or that the Master Emerald was real. Had Longclaw not been teaching him in the ways of the Owl Warriors? Had she simply been caring for him as a mother does a child? As far as Knuckles knew, Longclaw gave her life to protect Sonic, sent him to Earth to fend for himself at an age younger than Knuckles had been when most of his tribe fell. The boy had survived. Seemed to have thrived, in fact, despite having had no training beforehand. Knuckles admired that. Sonic's spirit was pure, as was his heart. He fought only when there was no other choice. And he took no pleasure in it. In another life, Knuckles would have proudly called him brother. The hedgehog was an honorable ally, which made the younger boy's behavior seem so strange. Earlier in the day, Sonic would sometimes not look at Knuckles and mutter to himself as Healer Maddie conducted her tests. He would seem distant toward Knuckles, but then the moment would pass. Those momentary lapses confused the echidna. Could the hedgehog harbor resentment toward Knuckles for what his clan had done to Longclaw? If she had truly simply been caring for him in a parent-child relationship, then his clan had orphaned the boy, in a quite dramatic way at that. By the same token, Knuckles could view Sonic in a negative way, as many in his clan, his father included, did not return from their confrontation with the owl. They had both lost much on that day many years ago. But he held no ill will toward Sonic for that. The boy was just a child when that occurred. It hadn't been his doing. But then again, Sonic wasn't an owl. If he were, would Knuckles feel so forgiving? Would staring an owl warrior in the face, even an ally, not cause unpleasant feelings if an owl were the cause of your father's death? When Sonic looks at Knuckles, does he see the face of those who killed his guardian? It made sense. Echidna killed Longclaw. Sonic had said Echidna ruined his life while they were on the mountain. Knuckles was an echidna, essentially a constant reminder of what he had lost. And how he had lost her. Was Knuckles' presence causing Sonic pain? The echidna curled into a tighter ball in his cloth burrow. He did not wish to cause the hedgehog any discomfort. The boy had saved him, even though they had been enemies. Sought his help to defeat the man Knuckles had partnered with moments before. Welcomed him into his home. But maybe now that the fighting was over, the enemy defeated, the very sight of Knuckles was hurtful, dredging up painful memories from long ago. Knuckles closed his eyes tightly. He was the greatest warrior in the galaxy and could take down any opponent with his strength and skills. No one could best him. He was trained in multiple forms of combat, proficient with many different weapons, and had defeated many challengers. He feared nothing, but he had no idea how to be a friend. Non-adversarial personal interactions were a mystery to him. How does one behave in situations like this? Should he talk to Sonic? To someone else for advice? Should he simply leave lest he cause more discomfort? He didn't know. Knuckles reached a hand out from under his blanket and touched the canvas bag containing the Master Emerald. Its proximity helped soothe him. The fox's breathing had calmed, dropping into a deeper rhythm. The kit had fallen back to sleep. The echidna pulled the emerald's bag beneath the blanket with him. His life had a purpose before, find the Master Emerald. It kept him focused, moving. But now his quest had ended. He was its guardian. He would keep it safe and out of the hands of any who would use it to harm others. It was his destiny. But was that all? Was there nothing else to his life? He was the last of his kind on a planet he didn't understand, staying with people he didn't really know. Even those who looked more like him, the hedgehog and fox, were strangers. He had seen the glances they all shared sometimes. They did not know how to deal with him. He was as strange to them as they were to him. He didn't belong. Knuckles hugged the bag close to him, feeling the hard gem within. It was the only thing he felt sure about now. The only thing he understood. He fell asleep not long after, clutching the emerald like a teddy bear. A loud diesel engine rumbled to a stop outside the broken house, idling for a moment before cutting off. Tom rolled over, cracking one heavy eyelid open. The clock on his nightstand showed 6:08 a.m. He let the lid drop closed. Was it trash day? His sleep-clouded mind couldn't pinpoint what day it even was. Life had been pretty hectic in the recent past. Maddie breathed deep beside him, still blissfully unconscious. He thought briefly about poking her awake. The alarm would go off in another 22 minutes anyway, but decided to let her sleep. If she had been half as tired as he was last night, she needed all the rest she could get. But with any luck, they could start settling back into a more normal schedule very soon. Voices reached his ears then, and he sat up, giving the bedroom door a questioning look. That was unusual. Was someone watching TV? Oh wait, the TV had been broken, and the new one sat in the garage, waiting to be installed. So what? Heavy footfalls suddenly pounded down the stairs, starting in the attic and continuing down the hallway at a run. A booming voice split the quiet morning atmosphere, and it reverberated through Tom's chest.
Stop. State your business here.
Beside him, Maddie bolted upright with a gasp.
What the?
Tom threw the covers off and rushed downstairs. He found Knuckles outside the open front door. Crouched in a fighting stance, his quills bristled. The echidna's muzzle curled in a snarl.
Whoa, hold on, Knucks.
The sheriff called, sidestepping around the alarmed boy. He stood between Knuckles and the group of men standing on the front walk.
Can I help you?
Commander Walters sent us to fix your house.
One of the older men said, his eyes flicking between the man and small angry red thing on the front porch. Tom's brows shot up.
Wow, when he said first thing in the morning, he wasn't kidding. Okay, it's around back. You can't miss it.
The men gave another glance at Knuckles before nodding and heading around the corner of the house. Tom turned to the boy behind him.
Stand down, big guy. It's okay.
Knuckles relaxed somewhat. The snarl uncurled, he stood straighter, and his quills flattened, but his brows still knotted together.
How do you know they were not being deceitful?
My cop sense didn't go off.
Knuckles' brows changed positions from suspicious to confused.
Cop sense.
Tom, what's going on?
Maddie stood in the doorway behind Knuckles. She shrugged into her robe.
The guys Walter said to fix the house are here. I sent them around back.
Wow.
I know, right?
You know you're in your pajama pants, right?
Tom looked down. Homer Simpson stared back at him from his flannel pajama bottoms. He shooed the echidna back into the house.
Okay, everyone back inside. Nux, I appreciate the urge to watch out for us, but maybe next time you should just wake me instead of going all guard dogged.
Echidna.
His quills bristled slightly.
Echidna, right. It's just an expression. Didn't mean any offense.
What is cop sense?
Knuckles asked between bites of raisin bran. Sonic paused, his spoonful of fruity pebbles halfway to his mouth.
How do you know about that?
We had a moment on the porch this morning when Knuckles ran down to confront the guys fixing the house.
Tom said, refilling Maddie's coffee before his own. She gave him a thank you nod as she yawned.
Doesn't surprise me you didn't hear it. You could sleep through a train barreling through the backyard.
The hedgehog hunched his shoulders, casting his gaze into his cereal. So he slept deep. Big deal. It wasn't something to be ashamed of. Not everyone woke up with the sun, or wanted to. He gave a side eye to Knuckles, who sat straight on his stool, looking at Tom intently. Mr. Perfect, up bright and early to protect all of us weaklings. Whoop-de-doo. Tom turned to the echidna.
It's a feeling I get sometimes when something's off, or I think someone's lying to me. I've been a police officer a while now, and I just call it my cop sense. Some people call it gut instincts. Just a feeling you get when something doesn't seem right.
So, you can sense danger.
In a way, I guess, sometimes.
Don't you have something similar? You're a warrior who's faced all sorts of danger and trouble. I would think you'd be pretty intuitive for when things are wrong.
Tails asked, stirring his own bowl of fruity pebbles. Knuckles furrowed his brow, tapping his spoon into the cereal bowl.
Danger was always present during my quest. There is no sensing danger if it is all around you. It was simply how things were.
Silence descended on the kitchen, the only sound coming from the workmen out back. Tom and Maddie exchanged a glance, and Tails flicked his ears back. Sonic lost his appetite as guilt settled in his stomach like a stone. Knuckles wasn't doing anything wrong. Yet Sonic seemed compelled to find fault or offense in everything the echidna did. Why? It was unfair and honestly a real jerk move. The guy was trying to fit in and get along, even though he had to feel like an odd man out here. This was obviously the first time he's ever been safe, and hadn't had to fight for his life. It was going to be an adjustment for him, probably a bigger one than anyone else's, and Sonic wasn't helping by viewing him as some sort of suck-up or competition for attention. The hedgehog cleared his throat.
Well, it's not how things are here, so you can relax those heightened warrior senses of yours and learn to have some fun. In fact, I can show you Green Hills in all its splendor today if you want.
He said, forcing himself to take another bite of his cereal.
I don't know, bud. Those gun agents are still crawling all over town.
Tom said, grabbing a breakfast donut from the box on the counter.
They seem to be sticking to Main Street.
Maddie said, finishing the last of her coffee.
I'll bet the boys can steer clear of them and do some exploring and such elsewhere around town.
Tom gave her a look and she shrugged.
What? I can't take them with me today. We're slammed, and you're busy too. I think they can handle themselves and stay out of any government holding cells. Right.
She turned to Sonic. He smiled, flicking his ears slightly backward. The look she gave him said she'd better be right or he'd be in some hot water.
Absolutely. There's plenty to Green Hills that's not Main Street.
Maddie gave him a little smile before turning back to her husband.
See? They'll be fine.
Should someone not stay to supervise the repairmen? They have access to your home. Are you not worried about theft?
Knuckles asked, hiking a thumb over his shoulder toward the people in question. The adults exchanged a glance, and Tom turned toward the workmen.
Hey, you guys don't need a babysitter, right?
A laugh passed through the group, and the nearest one poked his head around the broken wall.
Nah, Sheriff. Everything will be fine.
Tom nodded and turned to Knuckles.
I don't think we have anything to worry about, Knuckles.
Knuckles raised an eyebrow.
Is this more of the cop sense?
Yeah, pretty much.
With a somewhat unhealthy dose of wanting to believe the best in people thrown in, I'm going to lock the bedroom door, just in case.
Where should we go first? We could swing by Carl's place, then the library, then...
Sonic said, finishing off his bowl and zipping it to the sink.
If you're heading to the library, you ought to take that book back. If you even remember where it is.
Tom said, crossing his arms. Sonic rolled his eyes, waving a dismissive hand.
Of course I know where it is. I mean, I know the general whereabouts anyway. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere in this house.
Late fees come out of your allowance, and extra tourists help reinforce the point.
You're killing me, Donut Lord. Seriously.
The hedgehog said, rolling his head back.
I'll dig a hole.
Make sure the statue they inevitably erect in my honor captures my rugged good looks.
Here lies the Blue Devil, terrible dancer, worst singer, and a cheater at Monopoly.
More like hero of all mankind, fastest boy in the universe, and darn good at Monopoly.
What's going on down here? What am I hearing?
Maddie asked as she walked back into the kitchen. Her work laptop bag was slung over her shoulder and hair tied up in a high ponytail.
Sonic's epitaph for his hero statue.
Tails said, a smile on his face. He lifted his cereal bowl to drink the leftover milk.
Oh, I think it should read, Kissable Head, Boopable Nose, and Cheater at Monopoly.
I don't cheat.
Perhaps it should read, here lies Sonic, who died unhappy and depressed because he could never be as strong or handsome as Knuckles. Cannot attest to his skill at this Monopoly.
Milk sprayed out of Tails' nose as he dropped his bowl, laughing.
Ow, ow, ow. It burns.
That sent Tom and Maddie into fits of laughter, and the woman grabbed a hand towel to help clean up Tails' muzzle. Knuckles looked on, a small smile on his face, until he glanced over at Sonic. The hedgehog's brows were drawn together, and he glared at the echidna. Now the guy thinks he's some comedian, making everyone laugh at Sonic's expense? What right did he have to make fun in the first place? To intrude on the back and forth the three of them were having? This was a thing they did, a riffing off each other and good-natured teasing. A Wachowski thing. No outsiders allowed. Knuckles' smile dropped, and he turned away, brows furrowed. Sonic caught himself, cursing this negative knee-jerk reaction to anything Knuckles related. He'd really have to get control over that. He liked the guy, he really did. These nasty thoughts seemed to come out of nowhere, and always left him feeling slightly guilty afterward.
Nah, that's too long. How about something short and sweet, like Sonic? Super awesome, dude.
I like that one. Super awesome cool, dude.
Tails said, fully recovered from his milk-related incident. He flew his bowl to the sink.
Alright, I think we're getting into the realm of fantasy here. I've got to head out. Find that library book. Stay out of trouble. Be good.
I will try. And you know me.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Tom gave all three boys a quick fist bump, his wife a quick kiss, and headed out the door.
You're heading by the library? Say hi to Carl for me and see if those books I requested came in.
Maddie asked, readjusting the laptop bag strap on her shoulder. Sonic nodded.
Will do.
Maddie came around the counter to plant a kiss on Sonic's forehead and gave Tails a gentle head stroke. Knuckles seemed uncomfortable with her affection, so she simply gave him a quick shoulder squeeze.
Be good, guys. Swing by the clinic if you need anything.
Later, minutes.
The door closed behind her, and Sonic looked between the fox and echidna. Tails smiled at him, eager to spend the day together. Knuckles stood with his back to them, his head lowered slightly. Guilt rolled in Sonic's belly. He wasn't being a very good friend to the echidna.
Okay.
He said, clapping his hands together.
First, I need to find that library book.
He zipped away, searching every room in the house in the blink of an eye. He reappeared where he had been a second later, book in hand.
Done. Next.
He zipped upstairs and returned with the canvas bag containing the Master Emerald. He stood before Knuckles and held it out.
I think you're gonna want this.
Knuckles looked at the bag, then at the hedgehog before him. His eyes narrowed almost suspiciously. Sonic smiled kindly.
I know it makes you feel better when you have it. You must have really thought we were in danger to leave this behind when you ran downstairs earlier.
I heard voices.
Knuckles said, taking the strap and draping it across his body.
You were all exposed because of my doing. I felt it my responsibility to protect you.
He motioned to the broken wall. Sonic shook his head.
You gotta stop blaming yourself for that, big guy. It wasn't really your fault. You were going on bad information.
Information I received from a man I trusted when I shouldn't have. I deeply regret my actions.
Hey, we all make mistakes. It all worked out in the end, right?
Tails said, flying over to the two boys. Knuckles looked at Tails for a long moment before turning away.
That remains to be seen.
Okay, that's not ominous or anything.
Sonic said, tucking the library book under his arm.
Shall we head out?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see everything in person. You know everyone in town.
The kit cried, taking flight again.
I do indeed, Fox Boy. I do indeed. You are gonna love Green Hills. It really is the best place to live.
The hedgehog said, leading them through the hole in the wall. He ignored the looks from the workmen. The three headed through the forest, Sonic leading the way. His mouth moved constantly, telling his new friends about the area, its history, and the people. Tails interjected with questions every now and then, but Knuckles stayed quiet. Sonic kept shooting quick glances at the older boy, and found him watching the trees around them, his face thoughtful. The hedgehog didn't push. Judging from what Knuckles had said at the house, he still blamed himself for a lot of what happened. That might be something Sonic would have to talk to him about. Later, right now they had arrived at their first visit of the day.
Hey, Carl.